Welcome to another episode of Around the Campfire. I'm here today with Fred Pike, my partner and resident in many things, one of which is consent management platform, CMPs, analytics, and all the other pieces and parts that relate to that. He's a worldwide speaker on many conferences on these topics and a blog writer. We got a new blog in motion right now. It hasn't been published yet, but maybe by the time we get this video out, that blog will be live. So you can check our website for a lot of the same stuff we're going to talk about today. You have arrived here hopefully today because of the title CMP piqued your interest, and Google or an AI, your favorite LLM, brought you over to this video, and you have found us because we're going to talk today about consent management platform auditing. So if you do not know what a CMP is, you are probably in the wrong place. And so lots of other videos, including some stuff on our own website that you can read more about what a CMP is. But we're assuming that you are here because you are curious about, we put a CMP in and maybe somewhere in the back of your head you're going, did we do it right? Has it implemented correctly? Are we still vulnerable? Because CMP is a place where lawyers are doing a lot of active work, making a lot of money, going after firms, medium and large, for demand letters. And it's unfortunate, Fred, that so many people find us after they get a demand letter and not before.
Yeah.
But anyways,
And the demand letters are being sent out by plaintiff law firms in California and saying, hey, my client went to your website, they clicked reject, and yet you still sent information about them to LinkedIn or to Meta or whatever. And so please pay me 10,000, 15, 25, 50,000, whatever to settle this. So you do not want to get a demand letter. And we've been in many meetings with prospects where, like, within a minute, I can tell if they got a demand letter or not, just from kind of the look on their face and the questions and stuff.
The inference, yes, we figured out. So we're trying to get you here before that letter arrives. Fred, what percentage of CMPs are not implemented correctly? Correctly is a big word. How many have serious defects? Let's go there.
So let's talk about how many have leaks. To your point, we don't have hard data on this, but my gut guess is that 80% of CMP implementations have leaks. It's a large number. Every time we come into a CMP that we haven't done and we're looking at it, there are almost always issues around it because they're not easy to implement. There's a lot of nuance around how they get implemented and what tags you're blocking and stuff like that.
So why isn't it just as simple as putting a consent banner up there saying yes, no, and then block cookies? Why is it so hard, Fred?
The reason it's hard is because, so when you say, but don't track me, that information has to get out to all the tags that are on, all the marketing tags and other tags that are on the site.
What's a tag?
A tag is a snippet of JavaScript that is running on your website that will track what you're doing. So like if on a good example is Google Analytics, when you go to a page, it's going to send a page view over to Analytics to say,
along with your IP address and other information about you and lots of other stuff.
Correct. Yes. Right. Or you fill out a form or whatever, that information is going to get tracked.
Yeah. So, and if you have a third-party ad provider, they do it. If you have HubSpot, it does it. If you have YouTube on your site, it does it. If you have LinkedIn embedded links on your site, if you do it. If you are using a performance monitoring, click tracking thing there's a bunch of different ones that watch how people behave on websites, that's doing it. How many we have a little database library of all the things that are tracking. You have hundreds of things in there right now that are legitimate trackers identified?
We're tracking like 157 or something like that. Those are the known ones that we track, but we also track anything that looks like a beacon or a tracker and then add them. And there's like 10,000 of these things out there. 50 is going to give you the top 80%. We've got 157 or whatever, but we don't stop there. We track everything that looks like a tracker at any rate.
Right. So when we go into a website and we do an audit, we will identify all the cookies and or data points and see if they're being sent out someplace. And the only way to do that is to have a kind of really comprehensive look at the website. Now, can somebody do this manually? If you put a CMP in, can one of their IT guys go in and do this?
You can do it manually, and that's how we used to do it. It's a process to do it. It's error prone, and it takes a lot of time. But like when we would do a CMP implementation, I would do a 15-minute video saying, hey, look, I went to the site, I clicked reject, here's what happens. I'm showing you in the network tab, deep in the bowels of the communication system, that tracking got stopped or not. But God, it is so hard. It is so easy to miss things that way.
Yeah.
It is so hard to be consistent and always produce the same results.
Yeah.
So you can do it manually, but man, that is a hard way to do it.
Hard. So there's literally thousands of variables that are firing all at the same time. Timing, which country you're in, what locality you're starting from. California has different rules than does Iowa,
Right.
Minnesota, Wisconsin. Ireland has different rules. And if you're going to test it manually, you really need to test it from each of those locations. Most people don't have access to a website in a local presence in California from which they can fire. You can't just VPN in there because the trackers are smart enough to figure out that you're on a VPN. So you actually need a local presence there. It gets really, really tricky. And now, if you tested everything from California, you got to repeat all of that from Minnesota and repeat all of that from
Or whatever. Right.
yeah. So as arduous. So there's other ones out there, but we have put a tool together that does this, and you've been working on this for probably 9 months now.
Yeah. Yep.
Of
Yep.
polishing and tuning and finding all of the leaks and holes, et cetera, inside there, and it literally can do a page with thousands of checks in like a minute or two. It does it all. So maybe it might be a good time to bring up that thing and let's dive in and kind of examine what we're looking at, how you would do an audit. If you're going to do this manually, what are you looking for? And then some of the pieces that you have over here. So we're looking at
Yeah.
Irish Fest.
So let's start off with Irish Fest. I think it's the world's largest Irish festival. It's here in Milwaukee every August, third weekend of every year. And they've been a client for years and years. So we installed the CMP, the cookie banner. And so you have the option of accepting, or you can go into the preferences and decline all or turn off individual. I mean, everybody's seen cookie banners, so we don't need to go that.
Right.
But so how do you audit this? How do you know that it's working? Like if you're going to do it manually, you have to go to the network tab. I mean, that's one of the ways to do it.
You pop this up. This is built into the browser, so you're not doing
this
any
is
fancy.
I'm sorry, say that again, Pat.
This, what you just popped up on the screen here, is built into the
So this is the developer console that we're looking at that I just popped up. Any browser has a version of the developer console. We're in Chrome right now, but Edge, everything else has its own. And basically what we're looking at is all the traffic that's leaving my browser and going someplace, to Google, to Meta, to pull out, the fonts or whatever. So
images, fonts, content, all the stuff.
Images, fonts, everything. So you look here, and for example, if you're going to do this manually, you might filter and look for analytics. So here's an example of a hit, a request that's leaving your website and going to Google Analytics. Okay, so that's great. The other thing you would have to look at is the application setting, which is where the cookies are actually stored. So these are all the cookies. You'd have to see, okay, this is the GA, the Google Analytics cookie, for example. Was that set before it should have been set or whatever? Again, you can do this all manually, but it's so easy to miss things. There can be so many cookies that you're not aware of. So you really can't do this manually and do a good job, guaranteed it's set up.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what we have instead is the CMP audit. And this is a tool that Pat mentioned, where we ran irishfest.com from California, and we can run it from Illinois, we can run it from the UK, we can run it from France, Germany, Canada, Brazil, et cetera. There's a number of different geolocations. But the good news is that for this particular audit at this point in time, we observed no tracking before consent or after opt-out. That's what you want. So we're not going to track before consent or after opt-out, and 15 of 15 tracking vendors respected consent. So that's good, and we know what we did. We clicked on accept and we clicked on decline, and it worked. All these tags fired. We went to a second page, and that's really critical. We want to go to the second page and see what happens on that second page. So on this one, we see that all these things fired, and that's okay because we clicked accept. Now, in the post reject one, we have a much.
Post reject means I have elected.
I've rejected. I've declined and say don't track me. So now we have a much smaller group. We have Google Fonts loading, which is fine. We have the GTM container loading. That's fine because that's got all the tags, but the tags inside there, like the analytics, the meta, et cetera, are not firing. And we also have a YouTube no cookie presence and a YouTube thumbnail. So those are okay hits. Those are allowed.
No, those are allowed, Fred. So this is a small set. Do you have an awareness of this, or the tool?
Yeah, that's built into the tool. That's part of the way we maintain the tool to know what is actually legit and not. And if there's anything suspect, we warn you about it. There are many warnings that can come up saying, here's what we observed. You may have to talk to your counsel about that, but this is what we're observing. And then we also, in California, because this run is coming from California, where you have to honor the GPC, the Global Privacy Control. That is a browser setting saying, don't track me. And in the GPC setting, you can see that basically the same thing's fired here. So this passes GPC. And then the other scenario we run is pre-consent. What happens pre-consent? So in this example, this is an opt-in. In other words, we're not going to track you unless you say, yes, track me. So at this point, nothing really fires that's of concern.
Yeah.
Post-accept, everything fires. I've said, yep, so go ahead and fire. So that's an example. You can tell visually everything that's happening. You can run up to 10 different pages on this. So you can test your careers page, your contact us page, your videos page, et cetera, and make sure that things are still working in those scenarios. Now, go ahead, Pat.
No, I was saying that one key takeaway at the moment is that this is a lot of detail with a lot of nuances to how you are analyzing and looking at this data under a variety of different scenarios, or under a variety of different locations, with different timings on how the website and offering all this information. I think it should be pretty obvious to anybody listening here that doing this manually is insane. There's no way you could do what's happening in here with any amount of veracity. You would be grossly deficient. And this is where you're vulnerable. So the fact that being able to look at this is to be able to identify before some lawyer does that your site is working or not working. And so back to your...
And what the tool does is it lets you keep digging deeper and deeper. Like, for example, on these analytics, if I wanted to, I can actually go in and actually see what got sent, what that request was, and it'll break it out here. Here's my full request, and here are the parameters. So if you want to dig deep, if you're really technical, you can do that. Otherwise, you can just, go along with the swim lane here, the visual representation. Right. And you can also, at any point, you can say, hey, chat, help me out here. This is Claude, basically, applied to this specific chat, knowing all the rules of the CMP audit tool. And you can ask it anything, but let's say, is this site compliant for analytics? So we'll just take a look at it. It's going to go out. It knows the rules that the CMP audit tool did. It's going to go out and actually grab all that information, and it can tell you specifically yes or no to whatever question you're asking, and give you specific information from this audit telling you whether something is in violation or not.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
So the chat is great.
But it's not going to give me the score of the baseball game, correct?
It's not going to give you the score of not the baseball game, but the basketball game. For that, you would go to NBA.com.
Oh, there we go. Nice segue.
And NBA.com is an example of one where there are a lot of violations. And let's just take a look at the timeline, because that shows it more than anything else. Here's the reject, and you can see that a lot of things fired after reject. So the reject is not being honored in this example. And again, it just shows it so clearly visually that a lot of things are firing. Here's the reject. A lot of things are firing after that and after the new page. So I'm not going to dive deep into NBA, but I can tell right now that we are in violation. And of course, the report says right here, 13 vendors ignore the GPC. Only 14 of 34 tracking vendors respected consent. That's not a very great score, right? Yeah. And not to pick on them, but MLB is not any better. NFL is not any better. Yeah. PGA Tour is not any better. I'll tell you who is really good at this, who passes, is FIFA. And of course, they're a European institution, so privacy is a little bit more prevalent there. But boy, they pass really well. And let me show you another example of a major corporation, 3M, with their banner over here, and what they do. And the good news, thank you, 3M, they are 100% compliant. Let me just say, no violations found. We observed no tracking before consent or after opt-out. Now let's look at their timeline, because that really shows it clearly, I think. So here's pre-consent. I come to the site. I haven't done anything. You can see that absolutely nothing fires. Now I come back to the site. I press accept. and you can see everything that fired at this point. And again, you can always open up all of the individual tags if you wanted to, all the individual requests.
Yeah, so
So
just
now, yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to belabor it real quick. So when you're going
Yep,
through the steps scenarios over here, what your tool is doing is it's visiting the site in each of these different conditions. So it goes to the site just basic, and you haven't consented anything. The banners popped up and said you consent to cookies, yes or no. You haven't said anything. So in theory, nothing should fire until you answer that question.
exactly.
Post
In
accept,
an
there's
opt-in scenario, yes.
opt in, correct. Right. And then there's different scenarios over there. So each one of these scenarios, you are going back and visiting the site and measuring what happens
Yeah,
and going back. Okay. All right.
that's a great point, Pat. Yep. The pre-consent, I land on the site, the CMP, the consent management platform, the banner appears, but I don't interact with it at all. So
Yep.
then I do a whole new session and I go and I press accept. So the banner comes up, I press accept, and then I see what happens. And then a whole new session, I go in and I press reject and I see what happens. The same thing. Reject is honored here. You can see that nothing fires before, nothing fires after. This is about as clean as you can imagine it. And then the same thing with the global privacy control.
Yeah. Okay. So one final question before we wrap up, Fred, is when you are doing this, is this something that you can do once a month, once every 6 months? How often should you run these audits?
A great question, Pat. So here's our process. Once we install a CMP, we run this audit from California for our privacy states, Illinois as an example of a non-privacy, and then typically UK or France or Germany, it depends on where the client is, maybe Brazil too. So we run that, and then we know that the CMP has been implemented properly. Then from that point, typically either monthly or quarterly, we'll run the reports again and then meet with the client and say, okay, things are still good, or something else popped up. And Pat, that's one of the things you said early on. At the point in time that we implement the CMP, it may be passing, but then the next day somebody could come in and add a new tag, forget
Yeah.
to put it behind a consent gate, and now you're out of compliance. So the tool itself, you can schedule any particular audit to run
Yeah.
either weekly, monthly, or quarterly and send you the results and tell you if it changed from the prior run.
Yeah. All right. Rapid fire questions. These people that have, hey, drop one snippet of JavaScript on your site and your CMP is taken care of. What's the problem with that?
Yeah, it's just not going to work. And I don't know of any company that really promises that.
Okay.
Maybe TrustArc does, but regardless, you still want to verify that that
Right.
miracle solution is working. You know, you put the
So,
hair tonic on. Is your hair growing back? Maybe not. So
so
this will
if you
tell
have
you.
one of these miracle solutions or you had somebody else put your CMP in and you'd like to know whether this is working or not, this is a service we offered. We also, hopefully soon in the coming weeks, we're going to be able to be excited to announce a free scanner that'll do some of the basics of this that'll be out there. And obviously we're going to try to upsell you into the more advanced tools over here because this was a lot of investment on our end. So we're going to have this, but at a very reasonable price, be able to do this. And when you're doing an audit and you actually get into remediation, which we're not going to get into big time, but when you want to start fixing problems, you find that your site is not working correctly, fixing it can be a fair amount of work
Yes.
because you got to get into the code often. You have to go deep into the bowels of your content management system or whatever is hosting your website and find all the places that you're leaking. And they're not always obvious. And not all of them are going through Google Analytics. And
Or
some
through
of them are,
Google Tag Manager, you mean?
I'm saying, Google Tag Manager, but going off and actually some third party tools you might have installed or linked inside there, forms management will also do their own by tracking without you even, that's not even on your website. The tracking is happening someplace else that you're still responsible for because they got to your website and a third party tool is doing tracking and that has to be blocked and wrapped so that
Yeah, the bigger point, Pat, is that there can be multiple entry points for those JavaScript snippets, those tags, to be added to your website. It could be through Google Tag Manager. They could be hard coded on your website. They could be a hard coded script that is also pulling in a bunch of other ones, and we've seen that. HubSpot also can pull in other advertising like LinkedIn or Meta. It can pull that in also.
yeah.
So there's many, many ways that the tags can arrive on your website, and you've got to figure out where they came from and how am I going to be able to consent gate them.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a a great big dam you're trying to hold back that's got lots of little holes in it, and you got to plug all those holes. Some of the holes are big and some of them are small, but in all case, if there's something leaking through, it's a problem, and you're at risk. So
Right. So our whole point is find the consent leaks before a demand letter finds you, because we want to stop those frickin' demand letters from having an audience. There's no reason that CMP implementations are done so poorly and not audited. This tool is kind of our gift to the world to stop the demand letters. That's what I would love to see. Just kill those demand letters.
kill all the lawyers first, and then kill the demand letters.
I don't know about the lawyers, but the demand letters for sure.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today, Fred. And hopefully this is useful and helpful to everybody else. And look forward to our next Around the Campfire coming soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, Pat. Really enjoyed it.